The Toilet Paper Diaries was created by Dave Crane and Ernesto Verdugo, two international keynote speakers who saw the world go into lockdown because of a coronavirus and realized that many people would be scared. Not just speakers or event organizers, but anybody who owned their own business and was wondering what they need to do next to make sure that they could look after their families and still earn money. For 50 days consecutively without missing a single show, Dave and Ernesto shared ideas and tips and tools and techniques. They had a lot of fun, had a lot of jokes, and brought in some of the biggest speakers from the industry to join in.
Hey Dave, hey Ernesto.
Hello Dave and Ernesto.
This is Michael Dieterich coming to you live from the Netherlands.
This is Ethna Trainer in Dubai.
Thanks for inviting me back. I get to see my reflection.
Hi Dave. Hi Ernesto.
John Briggs here with another brief bulletin for you.
Hope you guys are staying well.
And congratulations on 50 amazing episodes.
Sharing great content from thought leaders, speakers and authors around the globe.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to deliver this message to you today.
This is exactly the kind of content people really need.
And thank you both so much for the daily dose of positivity that you are sharing with the world.
Congratulations
for organizing this Celebration 50.
What a fabulous accomplishment.
What an incredible show. Thank you for adding value for all of us.
Well done.
Congratulations on 50 shows.
That's impressive. Congratulations.
You guys are doing fantastic work.
And you do it in such a humorous way.
Make sure you keep doing what you're doing. It's very important. Congratulations to your 50th episode.
Kudos on the show. So proud of you. I've been a fan for a long time.
Congratulations on the success of your show.
What a great idea.
Really nice to see you guys.
Last time I'd seen you guys, it was 5 years ago in speaking in Dubai.
I miss you guys. I remember all the great times we had working with businesses in the UAE and Bahrain.
Just keep blessing people and keep sharing your gift.
Stay safe and I'll see you around the quad.
Thank you all you've been doing. It's been great watching these reports from all over the world.
And thank you both for all that you're doing. This is amazing stuff. Giving back during this tough time.
You look fantastic.
And now, people are starting to come out of their homes. Now it's time to fast forward. Are you ready for the Toilet Paper Diaries Season 2?
Great to see you, Dave. If you are watching live, make sure to share this first episode of the Toilet Paper Diaries of Season 2. And if you are actually watching us in YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel. So, Season 2, Dave,
I know,
how are you?
I know. I'm very excited, but before we get into how excited we are and the amazing show we have today, let me tell everybody that our website is up. The Toilet Paper Diaries website is now available. So if you go to toiletpaperdiaries.com, as it sounds, very have it just underneath our names, you'll be able to binge watch every single episode of the first season. And that was 50 episodes, as I remember, because I remember doing all of them, at least most of it. You also get our podcasts there. So if you're busy doing stuff and you want to hear us in the gym or hear us while you're doing something else, possibly before you go to sleep, it's all there. And also that's the way to get access to our hidden episodes of Fast Forward. I will explain to you, or we will explain to you how Fast Forward works. So make sure you go to the toiletpaperdiaries.com. You'll see who we are, what we do, all this stuff, some of the incredible guests we saw there and more. And I can't tell you how excited I am about this show and what's coming up in Season 2.
This series is called I Have a Dream 2.0. And it's going to absolutely blow your mind because we thought that we were out of the woods after we finished in episode 50. And look at the craziness, Dave. Look at where we are now.
We can't leave you crazy kids alone for 1 minute. We come back and you've just changed the narrative and changed the game. The whole place has gone up in flames over there, not even over here. So it's a completely different world than we left about, 1 month ago? So there we go. Shall we tell them how it all works about season 2 so everyone gets their head around it?
Absolutely. I think that's very, very important.
Okay, well, first of all, here's the thing. We are not going to be going every single day like we did before for various reasons, like we had to have a life. Going every single day during lockdown was important to let everybody know that we care. But at this stage, people know that we care, but you also are not so scared about being in lockdown because it's, 82nd day?
We are 82 days in lockdown. After lockdown started. It's just insane.
And I've looked in my little house. I've actually got Stockholm syndrome, where I've fallen in love with my captors, which is my wife, my kid, and my dogs. But I was pretty much in love with them anyway. So here's how season 2 is going to work. We're going to go 3 times a week. Toilet Paper Diaries is going to be twice a week. It's going to be a Monday, which is like today. And then you're going to have it on a Wednesday, which is in 2 days' time. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a special show called Fast Forward. Now, for those of you who remember what we talked about with Fast Forward last season, we mentioned that it was going to be a very specialist show. And it is really going to have something completely different. The Toilet Paper Diaries is As You Love It. What you've expected about news, reporters, tips, strategies, what's going on, and how to fix it. And Fast Forward is more strategic. We're going to go deep diving into what the world's truly all about with strategies, some huge guests. Oh my goodness. But that's subscribe only. So the only way to get into that is to go to Toilet Paper Diaries and fill in all the details. Otherwise, when it comes to Thursday and you're salivating and wanting more, there'll be nothing unless you join us in Fast Forward in our secret location. So we've got a special guest on Thursday. And that's one of our dear friends, James Dentley, who should be called Sir James Dentley, to be honest, because he's earned it. He's a top motivational speaker. He's a top sales guru. He's a leader of men. And we're very lucky to have him as our friend. Now, James was meant to be on our 50th episode. And unfortunately, because we had so many superstars in it, we decided to save him for the best till last. And so here he is on the first episode of season 2, Mr. James Dentley.
Hello, my name is James Dentley. I'm an international speaker, author, business strategist, and sculptor. And first of all, I want to say congratulations to Ernesto Verdugo and David Crane. These two gentlemen are absolutely extraordinary, and I'm here to celebrate the 50th episode, and you do not want to miss it. It's going to be packed with a lot of the top thought leaders around the country to teach you how to achieve your dreams, to teach you how to create impact. And in these days where we're socially distant, we're going to bring everyone together in a spirit of achievement, a spirit of making a difference and making the world a better place. And I mean your world as well. So I look forward to being a part of this show. I'm going to teach the psychology of communication and how to build an impactful 7-figure passive income stream. Now back to the studio. I look forward to seeing you there.
We get to call him Uncle James.
That is correct. And absolutely, I think it's going to be awesome to have him on the first episode this Thursday of Fast Forward. He has been the mentor of Les Brown and the mentor of many people. He's a widely successful person, and I am incredibly excited for you to enjoy Mr. or Sir James Dentley, as Dave was calling him, and that's going to happen on Thursday. Here are some instructions on how you will be able to watch Fast Forward. So, the first thing that I would like you to do is please write down this URL, toiletpaperdiaries.com. As soon as the show is over, I would like you to go to toiletpaperdiaries.com, and in this page, which is our portal, you're going to find a lot of very cool information. But you're also going to notice that on the right side of the page, there is a place for you to fill up your email and your name, and then press the button Get Instant Access. The moment that you get instant access, you are going to get not only access to all the Fast Forward episodes that you will not be able to see otherwise, plus also some really cool gifts that Dave and I have put together for you. Now, also on this page, you're going to see that we have all the episodes from season 1, so if you would like to binge watch them, and also you can subscribe to our podcast in any of these platforms. So as soon as you have registered for your instant access to the Fast Forward community, you are going to get into this page. And in this members area, you're going to have to do two things. First thing is you're going to click on this button, this red button here, and that is going to take you to the Fast Forward Facebook group, where you will be able to watch the Fast Forward show. Remember, you will not be able to watch the Fast Forward show unless you actually do these steps that we are telling you. Second is you can access your gifts. Dave and I have put together some really cool gifts for you that are going to help you start in this crazy virtual world in which we are just entering. Now that you know how the Toilet Paper Diaries is going to be working 2 times the Toilet Paper Diaries, 1 time Fast Forward, I think it's good that we basically have a recap and we basically get to see what has happened since January so that we can now move forward.
We slept in one world, woke up in another. Suddenly we realized that Paris is no longer romantic, Disney has no more magic, and in New York everyone sleeps. Hugs and kisses became weapons, and not visiting parents and grandparents became an act of love. Suddenly we realized that money is not that powerful, and power is not that valuable. Why is everything so uncertain in this world? I don't know, no one will ever know. But I do know one thing, that we don't need to focus on the uncertainties and enjoy our life when we have one. This situation has taught us that everything our lives used to revolve around is so temporary. Work, gyms, malls, movies has all gone for a toss as we are finally learning to live without them. It has taught us that it's our own home and family that keeps us safe. We finally learned the fact that it's not how we spend our time, but who we spend it with. But I wonder, are we still walking by the things we cherish the most? We used to be so consumed in our everyday life that we were never really grateful for what we had. But now that we have received the harshest of reminders, we don't need to keep running anymore. We can finally look within ourselves and connect with our soul. It's like the universe is giving us an opportunity to heal. Now, I don't know when this will end. No one does. But I do know one thing, that it will end one day. And that day, we'll all look back at what we have gone through, learned, and survived. We saw humanity at its best, and how it brought us all together like never before. I know it can be extremely hard for anyone to be positive or optimistic right now. But we still have a choice, right? We can either spread fear, or be the light in the darkness that everyone wants to see. If you still cannot find something to hold on to, take a mirror, stand a little longer, stare a little harder. You'll find something deep inside of you that still has hope, faith, and human spirit in these times of disruption, tragedy, and chaos.
So there we are. I mean,
Wow.
That basically took us from January, and that actually just doesn't mention anything about the Australian wildfires, and about the beginning of January, we were just about to go into a nuclear war. And now we went 50 days broadcasting every day, trying to support everybody on the pandemic. And now suddenly we are here 30 days afterwards, thinking that we were going to be out of the woods. And now, look at this.
The crazy thing is, when we're talking about the pandemic, which was the rule of our lives, it's not even a conversation in most people's news bulletins. And here's the thing. If you've been a fan of the show and been following us and friends for such a long time, then you probably remember one of the episodes we talked about, we showed a video about Julie. Now, Julie was a lady who met herself from the future. I know that sounds weird, but imagine a future version of you comes back to talk to you about what happens in the future, and you don't believe any of it. Well, the best way to explain just how bonkers the world has been was imagine if Julie's future self came back to talk to the future original self. Does that make sense to you? No, it doesn't. Don't worry.
That is even more confusing than Back to the Future, but it's crazy.
Watch this. It'll make sense after that.
Oh, hey, who are you? I'm Julie from June.
Oh, crazy. I just got finished explaining how nuts everything is going to be to the Julie in January. That's nice. So crazy for her, eh? Gosh, that was fun. The look on her face. Wasn't that so fun when I went back in time? Oh, she's headed for a wild ride. Why does your face look like that? Why do you look like that? So do you want the good news or the bad news? No. What? Come on. I don't know. What do you think? Well, I'm just trying to think of where you're at. April. You're quarantined. Yeah. I'm in isolation, which hasn't been that bad. Have you hit the bread making phase? Yeah. I'd say so. I have my own sourdough starter. Ugh, you and everyone else. Okay. It's pretty crazy about the whole coronavirus, eh? Is what? The pandemic. Oh, yeah. Is that not top of mind? Have you hit the murder hornets yet? Huh. Murder hornets? That's not a real thing. Murder hornets? Murder hornets! Wow, really? Oh, okay, sit down. Wow, we're fucking doing murder hornets. No, not me. Sit down. Are people injecting Lysol? Look, let's just do some good news. You know, I could really use some good news. Oh, she wants good news. Okay, yeah, sure. We'll do the good news here. Verdict's in on the masks. Turns out, wear them. Well, that's great because, there's been some mixed messaging. 2 astronauts went to the space station. That's exciting. Yeah, lucky fucks. Okay. Oh, Betty White was trending. No. Turns out she's perfectly fine. Oh, thank God. Oh, that's it. That's it? What? But people must be coming together and staying united? People have been protesting the quarantine with assault rifles. What? Yeah, I think it's this 5G thing. I really don't understand that. That's ridiculous. Shouldn't the police be involved with that? Don't they have a responsibility to protect and serve the health and well-being of every single citizen? Why are you doing that with your hand? Oh, I wouldn't. How bad does it get? Shit hits the fan. But if I'm being honest, it's always been bad. It just hits a boiling point. You can't tell me what happens? No. But a lot happens. A lot. So what do I do? Well, it gets pretty grim and infuriating and feels overwhelming. If I'm here to give you advice, it would be to say, we, us, are a person of privilege, and it's part of our job to use our voice. That's a responsibility we have. You don't have to wait for a crisis to step up. We can't change the past, but we can certainly help make the future better. Okay. Oh, it's just a Twitter headline. Monkey steals COVID blood samples in a Planet of the Apes style heist and cannibal rats in New York. Oh, nothing surprises me anymore. What the
I love that. It just tells it like it is. We haven't even got into what this show is about yet. We're still doing a catch up on where we left it. And the world has got a new narrative. And it's not just America's got a new narrative or Britain's got a new narrative. The world has got a new narrative. And that's what we're going to be looking at in the next section on today's show.
Well, today is June 8th, 2020. And if you think about it, when we finished on episode 50th, which was the 8th of May, exactly a month ago, we basically thought that we were out of the woods. And right now, as we were just talking about a moment ago with Julie, right now, I mean, if I hear thunder, I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly got sea lice outside of my house. I mean, this is just crazy how things are going. But in reality, Dave, how did you think? I mean, because, sometimes we think that things in the future are going to be one way, and then suddenly they happen in a complete different way. How did you actually expect that everything was going to go after the lockdown was being eased out?
I thought that what was going to happen is people would start coming out again. I think there'd be a danger of a second wave. I think that people would find that their jobs weren't in the same place as they used to be. There'd be social distancing to a degree. There'd be a lot of people scared because they didn't know what to do next. But basically, it would all be about pandemic. It would all be about recovery, all about the recession and how to make sure that you're going to be okay. I did not think it would be as bonkers as it truly is. And the best way to summarize what I thought it was going to be is that movie Far and Away starring Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. Now, the movie was made, I think, 1993. It's an old movie. Tom Cruise looks exactly the same as he does in every movie, even 20, 30 years ago. But this was the gold rush in Oklahoma, the land rush in Oklahoma, where everybody's rushing to put their flag in the sand. And we thought that would be the internet with new businesses. Take a look.
Yeah, that's pretty similar. How I also thought that everybody was in lockdown, and everybody was going to start getting ready to leave, and they're going to start getting ready. And this is exactly how I also thought it was going to be. But I mean, in reality, I mean, it was just not like that at all.
Not the case at all, because literally what we've got is a load of people have gone to the way they used to be. My gorgeous daughter saying goodnight. Because love you. Bye. There's Maya. We thought that everyone would come out of lockdown, stir crazy, and just go, right, I've got this new business I've invented. And some people saying I haven't thought about it properly, but I think I've got a couple of ideas. And what's actually happened is completely different to that, because we've seen some of this, but people haven't quite got their head around the changes that are happening because there's been a massive distraction. And the rest of today's show will be talking in great depth about those massive distractions, which are for a very good reason. They've captured the world and made everyone think differently about what we truly are. And I think we couldn't have that at the impact it's having. We're going to be talking about race and so on in a moment. We couldn't have that unless we'd had a pandemic that got the whole world on the same conversation. We had to be all on the same page for everyone to start looking at the world we had and how to make it better. And I think when historians look back at what we've got right now, it will make a lot more sense than it does being in the middle of it as we're experiencing it.
Yeah, I mean, if you actually watch those scenes that we're watching here, I really thought that this is exactly how we were going to be coming out of the pandemic. I mean, there were some people that were going to be crashing, some people that were going to be trying to go into faster than others. And in reality, what happens is that I feel that most people still have no clue what's going on. And because, of course, now we're all on the same page. This is one of the reasons why all these things are happening right now. But I think more than anything, the best metaphor to describe, if we use a film as an example, I think the best metaphor to use will be the movie Alive. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. I was just browsing on Netflix, and then I came across this film, which I have already seen. This is from 1993, which is about this team of, this is a rugby team from Argentina, from Uruguay, and then suddenly they crash somewhere in the Andes Mountains, and they are, stranded there for about 60 days. Half of the crew, half of the team dies, but then the other half stays there. And then all of a sudden, they are about 30 days basically waiting to be rescued. And then what happens is that they didn't have any radio, and there was a guy there that knew a little bit about radios, and they actually fixed the radio. And then suddenly they hear that after 30 days, they stop searching for them. And in that specific moment, suddenly the whole film changes, because then what happens is that everybody realizes, well, you know, they're not going to come and find us. I think it's now time for us to actually go and make things happen for ourselves. And the whole thing changes. So I think, in my eyes, and then possibly you can tell me, Dave, what you think about it, but this is exactly how things have happened now. I mean, previously we were basically thinking, well, we were going to rush out and it's going to be a crazy thing. And we were just waiting for the lockdown to be over. But now we realized that we have to take action ourselves, because if not, we are not going to be able to actually be able to move forward and to fast forward. And this is why the reason why we're actually starting now the Toilet Paper Diaries and fast forward again. What do you think, Dave?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember watching that movie and thinking, this is a great advert for a vegan lifestyle for the obvious reasons. If you don't know, it's because they have to eat some of the passengers. But I've spoiled the movie for you. So, yeah, I think, here's what I think. When we look back at that video of Far and Away, where everyone goes for the land rush, I don't even think that people know that there's a queue. I don't think they know that there's an alarm that's going to go off. And I don't think they know they have to plant a flag, because they don't have a flag yet, and they don't have a vehicle, and they've not gone digital, or they're hoping that somebody else would do it for you. And I think one of the big changes that we're going to see in the future is this is the year when people decided that maybe they had to do a lot more on their own and not rely on the powers that be to look after them, because maybe they haven't got their best interests at heart in the same way. And it's not just I mean, if this is across the world, people are thinking differently about stuff. We'll talk about this in more depth, but I think you're absolutely right. I think that we've seen a disruption in the terms of way people are thinking about the way that they relate to each other, which was not driven by anything apart from one particular incident, and that's George Floyd. We'll be talking about George Floyd very soon. But before that, let's have a look at this diagram. Do you want to explain exactly what it is, Ernesto?
Well, you know, I think this is actually the turning point. This is the moment that we suddenly hear on the radio that we're not going to be rescued. I mean, this is a chart from the influenza in 1918 and 1919. Basically, the first wave is here. We are expecting that there's going to be a second wave. I mean, as I was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly I hear thunder and it's going to be Godzilla, or there's going to be flying monkeys trying to overtake the world. I mean, right now, nothing surprises me. So we're really getting into a crazy time, but the pandemic is still happening there. Now, you were telling me something quite interesting, Dave. You were mentioning that you actually took this exact picture and you share it in LinkedIn, and suddenly it became viral. But it had also some interesting comments behind it. Possibly you can mention about it, because it's just crazy. This is how we started the Toilet Paper Diaries. And right now we're getting into a crazier world. And right now we are still seeing that we are not by far out of the woods on this crazy pandemic.
I mean, I shared this and it went viral and I got lots of people, and I made a point of saying, look, guys, this is what happened exactly 100 years ago when we had the Spanish flu, and it wiped out about 100 million people around the world. And yes, it was after the First World War, and there were a lot of problems of getting good food supplies, and all the natural amenities had disappeared, and around the world was strained. So the medical world was not ready to deal with a pandemic, and people weren't ready, and everyone was run down and so on. But I got some incredible results from people. Some people saying, thank you, Dave. I heed the warning and I'll be careful. Some people saying it's really sad. Some people saying, well, hopefully it won't be like that, because hopefully we've got our act together better. And some people who got really furious. How dare you post that? Who do you think you are? And to which I replied, well, I'm just sharing it because just in case, look after yourself and stay safe. I had people turning around and saying, people like you should never be doing stuff like this, because 0.01% of people die. That's 1 in 1,000. So therefore, the odds of us dying are so tiny, we should never have gone into lockdown. We should have carried on working and everyone would have been okay. And the thing is, maybe 1 in 1,000 die if you flatten the curve. But if you don't flatten the curve and everybody catches it, then the number goes up, because then you've got a global billions who catch it, as opposed to just a couple of 100,000 or a couple of million. And I'm not saying that to say that it's a bad, it's a bad thing if anybody catches it. But so many people are in denial or really angry about the idea that this coronavirus exists. I can understand that, but that we're talking about it and trying to help people. And I found that kind of shocking, sad, not surprising. But when you hear it from people and you just go, right, it's it's your choice. I remember people saying that we should go back to work early, and if old people die, well, it's good. It's just a thing. They've had a good life. So there's been a lot of strange conversations to do with that, and that's not even what we're here to talk about today.
So we are now 82 days in quarantine, and some self-imposed quarantine, because of course, the lockdown is in many places has been eased. I think it's been the weirdest experience that we have ever had in our lives. I don't think that we would have ever imagined that this was going to happen. And now suddenly the pandemic takes a second fiddle into the whole conversation. There's not even mentioned anymore in the news cycle. Is it weird? It's just insane.
If you wanted to distract everybody from the coronavirus conversation, then you couldn't have chosen a more effective way of doing it. But this isn't why it happened, or at least I don't believe it's why it's happened. For anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about, and shame on you for not knowing it, we're talking about the killing of George Floyd on video in Minneapolis by a policeman who was leaning on his neck for 9 minutes as he was saying, "I can't breathe," and with bystanders holding onto phones and watching, and with policemen standing by, letting him get on with his stuff and not stopping him. Now, what happened at the end of that is the video became viral. There was an outrage. People on both sides of the argument were arguing for, the guy had done some wrong, all this kind of stuff. But what it did was it spurned into action protests, starting off in Minneapolis, but then becoming national in the US, and then global. Right now in Japan, in China, every country, Black Lives Matter has never had such a more powerful theme. Now, we're going to be discussing this, and we're going to be looking at the in-depth breakdown of what impact this has and why it made such a difference. But also, put it in perspective, this is the biggest thing that's happened about race in the last 50 years. The last time that we had this experience involved Martin Luther King. So have things changed in the last 50 years? Well, to remind you about it, we have to look at the fact we've called this I Have a Dream 2.0.
So even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down In Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification. One day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. So, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
This is very tough to see. I mean, it's been, 50 years, 51 years. And you, Dave, you have lived it in your own skin. You have lived it in your own life. So
it breaks my heart, Ernesto, watching that shit. And it's not shit because it's not his fault. And it's not shit because it's not the people's fault. It's the fact that 50 years later, that just seems like watching a kid's show. It looks like a kid's cartoon that one day when you grow up, this is what the world will be like. And it's not changed one bit. If anything, it's become worse because we do know better and we should know better. And all the things now are so ingrained and put into society, not just in the US, not just in the UK, but all around the world. And it should be better. And it freaks me out that we have to look at something like that in black and white. And if you look at the times that we've had, like now and 50 years ago, and go back again and back again and back again, all the times that we've had riots on race, the conclusions that people come to is it's endemic, we need to change it, society has to get back together, they have to think differently, and it never happens. Never happens.
Yeah,
and it freaks me out and it pisses me off.
2 years ago, I actually came across this video, and this video just became viral because Jimmy Kimmel actually showed it in his program. I mean, the name of this guy is Tyler Merritt, and I think it is so incredibly powerful. And I want to say to basically all the white people which are watching us, just watch this and try to put yourselves on the shoes of Tyler. Try to put yourselves on the shoes of Dave. Try to put yourselves on the shoes of anybody with a darker skin color than yours. This is incredibly powerful.
Before you call the cops, I just want you to know the first thing that I did when I woke up this morning was yell at my alarm clock. My parents were raised in the South. I have to roll Tide or they'll disown me. They raised me in Las Vegas. That city still has my heart. I hate spiders. I'm a vegetarian. I'm not proud about it. I've done goat yoga. I'm really not proud about that. I can tell you every single word off the NWA Straight Outta Compton album. I can also sing you every single word from Oklahoma. Bananas are disgusting. I am a Christian. I spend almost every Sunday morning teaching kids in Sunday school. I am often asked if I am Muslim. I'm okay with that. I'm pretty much convinced if you met my mother, you'd automatically become a better person. My father is a veteran. He taught me how to say yes, sir, and yes, ma'am, to everyone that I meet. I don't hate our president. I pray for him. I love basketball and also hockey. This is my brother, James. This is my brother, Mike. This is my brother, John. And this is my brother, Rob. I've never been to jail. I've never owned a gun. I hate that anyone at all might possibly be afraid of me. I'd go around the world and back again if I knew that single act might make your day better. I'm a proud man. I'm a proud black man. Does any of this really matter? No. I just wanted you to get to know me better before you called the cops.
Calling the cops was at the start of this because there's a number of things, not just the thing that happened with George Floyd, but at the same time, another viral video involved a lady called Amy Cooper and another guy, a black guy, who saw her in a park walking her dog off a lead. So he said, and he was a bird watcher, do you mind putting your dog on a lead? Because, you know, you're going to frighten the birds. And by law, in the park, we have to have this. She got really annoyed with him. And then she faked being attacked by a black man as she called the police. And he captured it all on video. And that went viral. And I think for many people, that was the last straw. That video you shared there could be anybody. I mean, if I let my hair down, those who know me will know exactly what I look like. It could have been me. And I think that we're at a stage now where I'm hoping that something will come of this and we'll talk about it. And I'd love people to give their comments on it. Because you just mentioned something earlier about it's no good being a non-racist. You're right. You have to be anti-racist. It's gone far enough. You have to be actively saying this is BS. This is bullshit. I'm not going to put up with it anymore. And I never talk about this subject ever. Why? Because it's too painful for me. And also because of the repercussions of those who don't get it. So many people will hear you talk about a subject like this, they don't feel comfortable, and then they think you're a troublemaker. Same as if you're a woman who turns around and says about the Me Too movement because they're sick of getting sexually harassed. People turn around and say, oh, you can't go near her. She's so oversensitive. Why does she dress like that? But the difference is, and I want to talk about this in depth, Ernesto, because it's really something that pisses me off. And we've got a platform. I'd love to hear people's thoughts about it. Because I've watched so much stuff from people talk about all lives matter. All lives do matter. They honestly do. I care about every single person. I don't care who you are. You deserve better. But this isn't about that. This is about black lives. Because you don't get killed because you're black. I live in Dubai. I've lived there for a very long time. I've been there 25 years. And it's only because of this conversation, this element, that it really made me think about the fact that, hold on, why are you still in Dubai after 25 years? Because I'm not black in Dubai. I'm one of 200 different nationalities who all live together, with business being the reason that we're here. And Dubai government knows that, and they make sure, as the UAE, that you're all welcome to be in their country as long as you play properly. And I love it. And that's why I've been here for such a long time. And when you can't go back to your home country, which is the UK, because you feel they don't get it, there's something wrong. I mean, that video from Tyler Merritt really tells it like it is, but it's such a calm way of dealing with it. I know that Bill Maher had an incredible video where he talked about the police and so on, and I want to spend some time looking at how the police are involved in it. And I've got a different view to most people when it comes to the police, but we'll discuss that in a moment. What do you think?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's a two-way way of seeing things. I mean, and that's one of the things that I think it's absolutely critical that you understand. I mean, everyone watching this show understands. I mean, it's about understanding, because we cannot say it's their fault, it's this fault, it's whatever. We have to be racist, non-racist. We have to be anti-racist, period. And yes, indeed, Bill Maher, in some cases, it's a bit wacko in what he's saying, but I think in here, he has a very good point. Let's have a look.
And finally, new rule, hooray for the cracks that have finally emerged in the blue wall of silence. Yes, eternal optimist that I am, I'm going to look on the bright side of fires and looting and the breakdown of all order in the United States and hail the police chiefs from across the country who knelt and marched with the protesters in Miami-Dade County and New York City and Santa Cruz, California, and Flint, Michigan, and lots of places. Houston Police Chief Art Acevedo even said he was outraged at Americans who don't see a problem. This is new. It wasn't that long ago. Police never even admitted they did anything wrong. Police Sergeant Howard Banks of Omaha said, it's all of us versus bad people and bad cops, and we want to get them out of the line of duty and police work. Well, there I'm going to have to stop you because honestly, it's not quite that simple. I mean, forever we've been talking about bad cops, bad apples. And then the vast majority of cops, good cops. But the real new rule is you can't anymore get away with this is a bad cop, and any cops who aren't actually committing the crime are good. The ones who watch and do crowd control for atrocities, they're not good either. That has to be the new standard. And it goes for all out-of-line behavior. If your partner is doing something horrendous, you can't just watch and do nothing like the husband in a cuck video. There's a meme that says, nobody hates bad cops worse than good cops. Okay, if you hate them so much, turn them in. Because let's be real. If there wasn't video of that murder, how do you think those other cops would have described that encounter? It'd be, we found Mr. Floyd unresponsive, so we administered CPR, blah, 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 lie. If you see something, say something, has to apply to police too. You can't get away with crimes on account of being the people who are supposed to stop crimes.
Very, very true. I mean, I think it's just so important that we understand exactly what he was saying.
We're not getting many comments. I'm really surprised, actually. I thought we'd get a lot more in the comment section. Please feel free to share your ideas, whatever they are. They're all valid arguments and conversations, because in order for this to move forward, it has to start with a conversation. If it ends up just being a complete bit of legislation and people don't buy into it, nothing improves. It gets overturned and people resist. So it needs to be a conversation that happens. Somebody who took a stand, or even to change it, he didn't actually take a stand, was Colin Kaepernick, who was the fullback for, not fullback, quarterback, I think, for some.
No, it was fullback from the, I think it was the San Francisco 49ers.
Right, so he decided that he wasn't happy with everyone standing for the national anthem because of a recent brutality of the police. So he sat on the bench and wouldn't stand up for it. And it didn't have the impact that he wanted to have, that people were actually recognizing that there's an issue here. So the next time that it happened, he took, and this is about 5 years ago, he went down on one knee with a colleague, Eric Reed, to prove that he wasn't happy about about America at that moment in time. Now, the challenge was that people misinterpreted it. They turned around and said, he's disrespecting the flag. How dare he? Don't bring your politics here. And it wasn't the case. So what happened was he got blacklisted, and there's no accident that term blacklisted gets used. He got hammered by his team, not his team, not his colleagues. He got hammered by the owners of the NFL, got hammered by other managers and owners who are saying that sort of stuff should not come here. We should all respect the flag. We should all respect the anthem, blah, 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 blah. And he ended up not renewing his contract after a load of legal issues, which eventually got sorted out, or at least they agreed not to talk about. 5 years later, Colin Kaepernick is still not working as a football player. He's still not employed by anybody. Don't know whether that's because nobody will touch him or because he's not ready. I have a feeling it's because nobody's still touching him. But one of the things that has happened is because of the marching and the protesting and the change that's happened around the world, and the feeling that we should do something about it, not we, but the powers that be should do something about it. The NFL has done a full U-turn and said that now, if you have a grievance, you're allowed to protest during the anthem. And various dignitaries and various players who were dead against it, saying, how dare you misrepresent my flag, have now turned around and go, actually, we were wrong. It wasn't about the flag. You guys have got some serious problems, haven't you? Black people do not get treated properly. So Colin Kaepernick is still seen as a symbol. What I've found is fascinating is how that going down and bending the knee has become an incredible symbol of things have to change in every country, in every nationality. And it's incredible to see the police and the armed forces, when they do, they recognize it's an issue and they go down on one knee to say there is support. It's not enough, it's not happening everywhere, and it needs to be better. Now, we're going to talk about this in more depth, because here's the thing. For me, I'm actually half caste. My dad's white and my mother's black, and my entire life has been being black. Well, I have no problem with that. I don't mind if I was green. But my experience of life has been relatively privileged, but that's only because of a certain number of things, which I may mention later. For you, Ernesto, I mean, this whole show, the Toilet Paper Diaries, is run by minorities. You're a Mexican Dutch, and you've got a black Brit. And we enjoy the show because we enjoy each other's company. We share good content with everybody. But if it was down to somebody on national television or any satellite channel saying, we've got a really good idea, why don't we do a show called The Toilet Paper Diaries, I would never in a million times put the money down on you and I being chosen as the hosts of this show. There's no way it would ever happen. So we've had to do it ourselves. And I mean, I've loved working with you, and I still will continue to love working with you. But that is such a shocker that we have to even mention that. The one thing I want to see is I want to see color becoming invisible. I want you to turn it on and say there's a guy with long hair and a guy whose hair needs cutting. Not what is happening, which is with a black guy, and you blend in, so you people don't know that you're of Mexican origin until you speak, and then your wonderful lilt comes out. So, I mean, there's a lot to look at, what we've mentioned there and what we talked about, and it's not just a police thing. I want to mention this, and I'll talk about it more in depth in a moment. It's not just about police. It's really about society. And I just want to call bullshit on the last 50 years since Dr. King said, I have a dream, and everyone thought mistakenly the world's getting to be a better place. And I watched it happening as a young boy to now being a guy in middle age. I'm looking around and going, nothing has changed. Not one thing has changed. If anything, then we've got better ways of spreading the word about bad things happening, but nobody feels that they have to change it. And I hope that's the thing, that at the end of this show and at the end of Wednesday's show, and when we dig down into Fast Forward on Thursday, and we're joined by James Dentley, we're able to find at least some kind of roadmap, some kind of solution, and if nothing else, a way of venting the pain and the anguish of everybody who feels what we're feeling. And if you're feeling a little bit screamy and a little bit uncomfortable, and you're thinking I should really switch off because this is not for me, that's why you've got to watch this show, because it is for you. And shame on you if you can't handle it, because I don't want to talk about this. I'd rather we talked about the virus, or we talked about comedy things, and we showed Instagram jokes, and we did other stuff. But if I don't talk about this, and Ernesto and I don't mention it, it doesn't get done. And these conversations have to happen because so many people in a position of influence are just going, la, 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 it might affect my brand. John Boyega, British guys in his early 20s, you'll recognize him for being the black guy in Star Wars. So the guy, sorry, he was two black guys. And he said, Black Lives Matter is not all lives matter. He said, Black Lives Matter is about black people. All lives matter is white people trying to become, trying to change the narrative. And he got a massive backlash from people turning around and saying, how dare you? Are you a racist? And it's not that. So what happened was he didn't drop the ball on this. He kept pushing it. And he said, I don't care if I lose my job. I don't care if I don't get any work again. And the The guy is a really top actor. He's like, if you can imagine a young black Burt Reynolds, if you want to imagine what the character and the personality and the presence of this guy is on stage and his humor and everything. So he carried on doing it, and the world has stood by and watched. And then he went to, I think it was Hyde Park, to join a protest, and he went on stage. And he said what he thought. And as a guy who works for Disney, do you remember when James Gunn, who did Guardians of the Galaxy, they picked him up on a Twitter sexist joke or homophobic joke he did 10 years ago, and Disney kicked him out because it was not the Disney image. So John Boyega's there. He's saying, maybe I'll lose my job. There's a very good chance that the people, the powers that be, like NFL, would find it too much of a sticky hot potato. They don't want to touch it. So what happened was Duncan Jones, Charlie Brooker, and a load of top directors from British TV and British movies turned around and they said, we would love to have you. We'd love to have you working on our movies. And that moment is like in Spartacus, when everyone said, I'm Spartacus, so the Roman soldiers couldn't find the culprit, Spartacus, who led the revolution. What they did was they sent a message, a clear message to Hollywood and to the entertainment industry. When you see so many entertainers, black entertainers, who should be making a stand and they wouldn't do it, saying, we'll stand with him. And then Star Wars and Lucasfilm and Disney turned around and they made a big deal about John Boyega, saying that they would stand with him. And I'm not convinced they would have done it if it hadn't been that they saw everyone else moving forward and protecting John Boyega. So this is how it starts. It starts when you take a stand and you support those making a stand.
Absolutely, you need to take a stand, and this is incredibly important. And possibly, I mean, it's a tough thing to get started with a show like with a thing like this. I believe very strongly that it is the culture, basically not understanding the culture and not understanding how people think, that definitely gets them to be like that. Because if I see it from the other perspective, I mean, it's very important to see it from the black perspective, from your side. If I try to understand why people are, they say, well, I am not racist. And I think you have a point. You have to say, it's not about being not racist, but being, you have to be anti-racist. The important thing is because people do not really understand they don't put themselves into the other person's shoes. So I think it'll be very good, Dave, if you actually come and tell us your 10 reasons, your 10 points of why whatever is happening right now is complete bullshit.
When I do this, by the way, I want to make sure that I don't talk like this normally. I never do this. This is not a normal Toilet Paper Diaries, but this is so deep that if I don't say something about it, I'll hate myself for the rest of my life, because we have a platform to help people. And this is such an important part of your business, of your mindset, of your ability to connect to the world outside, and for you to understand why it's important for our generations to come. Because 50 years ago, when Martin Luther King talked about this, nobody's done jack shit. Nothing. So shame on everybody, including myself, for not making it work. So I want to talk about BS. I want to talk about the fact, first of all, I am not having a go at the police. The police have the worst job in the world. Imagine waking up every morning, kissing your family goodbye, and then leaving, knowing that you might never see them again. And your job is to protect and serve the community, to make sure that everybody is safe. And your job is to run at bullets and stop people from hurting other people. And if you haven't done that, you haven't done your job properly. The stress is there. The counseling for people in that position is not there. And the way that they have to deal with it on an ongoing basis, and the many experiences of post-traumatic stress disorder that the police must go through is just, I can't even imagine. I could never imagine being a police person of any description. But the problem is, it's got to the point where the world is a different world. It doesn't need hard policing. Sometimes it does. What it needs is community help. And it's a different world. It needs to have more people thinking about the second pandemic, which is probably not even going to be about the actual virus. It's going to be about mental health. The people who have been stuck indoors, who are now suffering, who are scared, who've lost people, who don't trust the world outside, who don't like eating. There's got so much mental health issues that are going to be a big challenge. And that's what we have to look at. So first of all, it's not about the police. They have it tough, but don't let them off the hook, because they are at the heart of this problem. You don't see citizens walking around shooting black people because they're black. Let's get that done from the very beginning. Nobody else has the authority. Now, Trevor Noah made an incredible point. He said the only reason society works is because there's a social contract that says that everybody is equal in the eyes of the law. So when you see a place that's got lots of different things in the shop that you want, you have to earn the money to get it. You don't take it, and when you earn it, that's your right to go in and buy it. If you smash a window and take it and have a gun to shoot other people, you're going against the law, and the police will get you, but the police will protect you. And that's why everybody stays with whatever society we have, whichever country, whatever politics, whatever we deal with. That's the deal. That's a contract, and it's been there for generations. But when that contract doesn't exist anymore, and you know that it doesn't matter what you do, you can play ball, you can be nice to everybody, but you'll still be in danger, and you've got to teach your kids to protect yourself. And I've got stories. Every black person has got stories. Every person who's brown or of color. I mean, even if you talk about people who are different, I could turn around to friends who have got red hair, who get treated different and get treated badly. But this is not about them at this point. This is about black, because black cannot be a different subject at this moment in time. I agree, but when you're talking about the fact that people who are physically disabled or challenged, people who are LGBTQ, people who are, who are sexually harassed, I want to talk about the fact that we will deal with them and help them. Their lives matter, but right now this has to change or nothing else will. There's a picture of me. That was me on stage, bringing on Kanye West in front of 15,000 people in Dubai. I've done gigs with 45,000 people. And why am I so good? Can we show that picture again, Ernesto? Why is it I can control an audience like that and get them to do anything I want? Why is I teach people to understand audiences? From a very young age, I had to read people. Why? Because I had to know who wanted to punch me and who wanted to be my friend. And that ability to find the Wi-Fi code of every single person that you meet is why I'm so good at working audiences, and why I'm so good at coaching other people to be able to do it. It's like a martial art. I can read anybody anywhere. And that might sound flippant, but this kind of audience, this kind of reaction doesn't happen by accident. I watch people going out of the Dubai Rugby Sevens in front of 45,000 people saying the wrong thing, and they have 45,000 people throwing cans at them because it just didn't work. Now, there's my family. On the left at the bottom there, you can see my beautiful wife, Aziza, my gorgeous daughter, Maya. They are the reason I breathe. They're the reason I do what I do. And they are the reason that in lockdown, it's actually been a pleasure to spend more time with these incredible human beings, because they drive me and they protect me. And there's my daughter. She's actually Blasian, black and Asian. My wife's from Singapore. And on the other picture of my family, you can see my parents. That's my dad. And you can see I just look like him, and my mum, Peter and Aziza, and that's at Christmas time. Now you can see how much I look like my dad, even with the glasses on. You see me normally. He doesn't have the dreadlocks, of course he doesn't. But they made a decision in the 60s when we got together that our kids are going to find it hard. We're going to have kids that are going to find it hard. Both their communities said, don't get together, black and white, because nobody will support you. And they said, we don't care, we're in love. So they got together and they raised strong kids. And it's a real shame that, and I know families are families, but I'm not really close to my sisters. And I know what's at the heart of it. And it's not because of my parents. It's because we all had to find our own way of surviving when we grew up in white communities. And that was maybe different from each other. So we couldn't stay together. We didn't bond in the same way. Now, every family's got their own story. I don't want to dwell on that. I want to dwell on the bottom line. That if you're able to work an audience, if you're able to understand people, then you understand what makes people tick. Now, black people did not ask for this. 400 years ago, slavery owned the world. It was the biggest currency, and I'm going to go black white on this because there is no way of bullshitting this. I'm half white, half black. I love white people. I love brown people. I love Indian people, Chinese. I've got friends in every nationality, but this is just a thing. Same as like talking about people on bikes and people on cars. White slavery took black people all around the world to build what we have as the fields, the farms, the cities. It was all done not just by black people, by Chinese people. Slavery was a huge thing 400 years ago. Now, here's one of the things that's so profound about this. Black people are not after revenge, they're after equality. Can you imagine if they were after revenge, how the world would be a very different place now? But that's not what we want. We want equality. Now, let me explain how this all comes together. Now, it's not just in the USA. It's not just the USA or UK this is happening. This is happening everywhere. Through my entire life, I have had pay discrepancies, not paid as much as other people. I've had crappy housing because people won't rent places to me. In Dubai, that's different. If you pay your money, you get your rent. But it is expensive. But I prefer to have a level playing field to do it on. I found that jobs I wasn't allowed to have. I found that when I first arrived in Dubai, I wanted to join a club that all the Brits were in, and they wouldn't give me membership because I was black and they didn't believe I was British. And all that had to change, and I had to fight for it, and hopefully I've left a legacy for people to follow after me. But it's not easy. It's painful. It's challenging, and it doesn't stop. Now, here's the thing. We can talk about the police, and we should fix the police. We should take a lot of money that's invested in police and use it to make the communities better and do it for education and mental health and balancing it up. Something like 61% of the wages of a black person compared to 100% of the wages of a white person across America. 61% of the wages. Now, I know it's true for women. It's a challenge as well. But don't change the subject. I've had so many friends turning around and posting on social media, all lives matter. And what that does is it muddies the waters. It's like turning around to somebody who's at a funeral and they're talking about their child who's just died. And they're talking about how important it is we remember the life that they had. And I want to play a song for them because, they were my child. And I want to talk about it because this is their moment. And somebody turns around and said, yeah, we know about your kid, but all lives matter. All children matter. And for your song, you know what we'll do? Let everybody sing a song for their kids. That's what it feels like when you say all lives matter. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm not saying this to sound good. Nothing gets fixed if you muddy the waters and the powers stay exactly as they are. And I'm not being political. I don't care. I'm talking about real people everywhere. And there's loads of people who don't believe that this is a problem. Loads of white people who don't believe that this is an actual issue that black people have gone through because I've been through it my entire life. So, I don't even think about it half the time. It's just the way it is. So it's institutionalized. And here's the thing. If you complain about it, like the Me Too movement, if a woman turns around and says she's sexually harassed, she was either dying for it, asking for it, or she's a troublemaker. If you're a black person and you don't get a job, then quite clearly you've got sour grapes. Well, here's the truth. My parents brought me up to know that I have to work twice as hard, maybe 10 times as hard to get the same job as a white person. And that's why I run my own business. That's why I haven't been for a job interview for 30 years. Because I won't allow myself to be rejected by somebody because of the color of my skin or work my ass off to get like this. And I've run radio stations. When I first came to Dubai, I left the BBC. I worked for the BBC as a freelance for 3 years. I worked for the BBC as a freelancer and I was kept on because it was kind of good to have somebody, like that hanging around. But eventually a guy came in and got rid of me. The same time he got rid of me, I wanted to prove a point that I was pretty good at doing what I did. I was a news reporter and a presenter. I went on to a TV show called Blind Date, a reality TV show, and you can check this on YouTube. And I won in front of 14 million people. I won the Christmas show. And 20 million, because people watched the other show as well when I came back afterwards, went, wow. And you know what the BBC did? They sacked me because they turned around and had an excuse of saying, well, quite clearly, your direction is not in news, it's in entertainment, so maybe you should go somewhere else. When I moved to Dubai, within 2 years, I was running a radio station. I would never have had that if I lived in the UK. So if I'd complained about it and I'd made a big deal and said, you know what, guys, it's me, it's unfair, nobody would believe me. So what I'm after is not anything apart from just equal rights. Get a chance to be equal. That's what everybody wants. Now, the problem is it's subliminal. All around the world, everybody has a problem with black and white or light and dark. Look at India, it's the same thing. A very dear friend of mine was telling me that in the caste system in India, when she got married to a guy who's darker than her, his parents came up and apologized because he was of a lower caste, being darker. Her dad would not allow her to marry, and she refused and did it anyway, because he was darker than she is. In Dubai, and I love Dubai, and the rulers here are fantastic people, and I really do believe that. That's why I've stayed here so long. Every pharmacy you can go in where they've got skin whitening creams because it's more important to look whiter than it does dark. And nobody gets how important that is and how much it insults anybody who's dark. And the thing is, it's not just black and white. It's not just Indians and in South Africa. I was talking to a friend earlier, Munir, who will be on the show on Wednesday, saying that in South Africa, when they looked at different races and different colors and they decided to grade you, they had a thing called a pencil test to see whether you could be in the higher levels. And the pencil test was this. You get a pencil and you stick it in your hair. And if it falls out because you've got straight hair, you can be in a higher level in society. If it stays there because you've got curly hair, you're at the bottom of the food chain. But what's even worse than this is black people are racist. Do you know why we're racist? And it's not because we want to be, it's because you show me an advert from a mainstream product on a billboard in a magazine that's got black people on it. I dare you. What happens is we end up feeling more comfortable looking at white images because that's all we ever see. So it's built into us.
Sorry to interrupt you. I have just been informed that our video has been banned by Facebook. So it is Big Brother is watching us.
Well, I'm glad you're watching because Facebook needs to hear this as well. But we're still broadcasting.
We're still broadcasting, but nobody can see us. It's only us. So we are out of Facebook.
I'm going to continue finishing off what I was going to say. Because at least it'll be recorded, and at least we can share it later when Facebook decide to let us back on. I'm hoping it wasn't because I'm talking about what I'm talking about, but it could well have been because somebody could have turned around and said it's a racist rant. That could be it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to tell you how I feel. It's a smokescreen. So much of the world is a smokescreen, and I really think that what we need to do is we need to think about the fact that the people protesting the streets, the millennials, if you look around, you see more white people or a lot of white people in amongst black people. And that's my ray of hope. That the generation have more balls than my generation. That we turn around and say, I don't even care if I catch coronavirus. This is more important than anything whatsoever. So where's that leave us? Now we've been taken off air, but hopefully people will see this video later on. It leaves me thinking that someone somewhere decided to say that this was a racist rant, which tells me exactly what I believe, which is it's very difficult for people to deal with this. And that's all the reason why it should be done. This is the same equivalent as walking on the street and somebody decides to go over and throw tear gas or to throw rubber bullets until I shut up and go somewhere quiet. I realize we haven't got everybody watching us. I hope they take the time to watch the replay if we're allowed to put it back up. But the one thing I do hope is that we use the opportunity to be anti-racist and to care about what happens next. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you, Ernesto. It's a real shame that we had to experience this. I'm not surprised, but I am shocked.
Yeah.
Wednesday, we're back with Toilet Paper Diaries. Let's see how long we can stay on air.
There's a little song that we sing in our movement down in the South. I don't know if you've heard it. But it has become the theme song. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. Though I join hands so often with students and others behind jail bars singing it, we shall overcome. Sometimes we've had tears in our eyes when we joined together to sing it, but we still decided to sing it. We shall overcome. No, before this victory's won, some will have to get thrown in jail some more, but we shall overcome. Don't worry about us. Before the victory's won, some of us will lose jobs, but we shall overcome. Before the victory's won, even some will have to face physical death. Physical death is the price that some must pay to free their children from a permanent psychological death. Then nothing shall be more redemptive. We shall overcome. Before the victory is won, some will be misunderstood and called bad names and dismissed as rabble-rousers and agitators, but we shall overcome. And I'll tell you why. We shall overcome because the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. We shall overcome because Carlyle is right. No lie can live forever. We shall overcome because William Cullen Bryant is right. Truth crushed to earth will rise again. We shall overcome because James Russell Lowell is right. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. Behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. We shall overcome because the Bible is right. You shall reap what you sow. We shall overcome. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome. And with this faith, we will go out and adjourn the councils of despair and bring new light into the dark chambers of pessimism. And we will be able to rise from the fatigue of despair to the buoyancy of hope. And this will be a great America. We will be the participants in making it so. And so as I leave you this evening, I say, walk together, children. Don't you get weary. There's a great camp meeting in the corner.